Greetings, everyone. I'm Stephen Neely. I'm your co-host for the virtual Dalcroze Meetup. We are here for one of our regular open sessions. I'm here with my co-hosts, Emma Shubin and Veronica Bileski, my dear friends and co-founders of the VDM. We're in our fifth year, which is so crazy to even say out loud. I don't know how that has happened, but people keep showing up. And look at this nice crowd today. We are just thrilled to see everyone and thrilled to keep pulling together an international community to talk about all sorts of things related to Dalcroze and um, eurythmics and music and movement and the brain and motion and teaching and music. So thanks for being here. In the chat, there is an agenda if you want to click on that. Before we get into our big things of the day, you may know that we have a tradition where we like to introduce ourselves to each other. So I'm going to very quickly throw you into um, two breakout rooms. And when you get to the room, the hope is that you might be willing to uh, share your video and just introduce yourself to the couple people in there with you. Ideally, what's your name? Where are you located is always so interesting. And who do you teach? And if you're not actively teaching right now, tell us anything that you'd like. Who's your community? I'm going to sit out and for the latecomers. So I'm Stephen Neely. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I mostly work with university students these days. I'm in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon. So get ready, set. We're going to call you all back in 2 minutes. You don't have much time. Ready, set, go. There you are. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to at least get a little sense as to where everybody's from and what they're all up to. Um, we uh, we can move ahead. Um, We have we're nearing the end of our current season, our current spring session for the VDM. The upcoming dates and sort of titles of the meetups, the master classes, and the short courses are all to be found on our website at virtualdalcroze.org. And also, you can find a listing of them in the Google Doc and the agenda. We want to let you know that we have one more we just finished a great little masterclass with Fumiko Honda Bauer last evening. So anyone who's working with the littles, the age 6 months or 1 year through sort of age 3 or 4 years old. It was a really wonderful session where Fumiko shared us with videos and sang songs and told us about classroom management techniques and dealing with parents and dealing with kids. She really had prepared so well, and it was such a great set of ideas because there's not a lot of people who have specialized in that space, and it was just wonderful to hear all of her insights. So if you have any interest in that, please go to the website and sign up for the recording of Fumiko's class. Coming up, our next big sort of exciting thing is the last short course of the term, which is with Francoise Lombard of Canada. Francoise is just a lovely, lovely person overall. And she's running a short course around the idea of improvisation. I'm sure some of what she'll do will invite some piano, but also knowing Francoise there, I'm sure there will be singing and probably all sorts of other ways that we use improvisation in our settings. I'm quite sure that she will tailor her agenda to whoever it is that registers. So whether you think of yourself as as particularly interested in one of the things I just listed or another, it really will not matter because whoever you are, she will meet you and then tailor her work to what's going on. So we hope everybody will join Francoise for her 3 session short course. I want to hand it over to Veronica, who maybe can pick us up with our agenda and tell us what's
Yeah,
up.
so today we have three presenters from three different countries. Really exciting to just see what's going on all over the world. And so what we'll do is we'll start with Jane. If you could speak for about 5 minutes, and then I'll give you a 1 minute warning, Jane. And then we'll go on to Marlise. Same thing for you. If you could speak for or share your activities for about 5, or I think Marlise, we talked about something slightly longer. I can't remember, but just let me know. And then Rosemary has prepared a video, and so I'll play that video as her presentation. And after all three presentations are over, we will have a discussion time and hope to hear from all the presenters a little bit more about their work and how it connects to what we're doing. So I think, Jane, we'll just go ahead and start with you.
Oh, right. Apologies first. I do a lot of online teaching, but use a totally different platform. And so I'm only on my other laptop today and not really au fait with Zoom. So please forgive me because I haven't got multiple camera angles, let alone a good sound system. But anyway, I'm here. As I said to the group before, I'm not a Dalcroze specialist at all. I trained at Trinity when it was Trinity College of Music some 40 some years ago. But I've used elements of Dalcroze for a long, long time in my piano teaching, in musicianship classes, and ranging from tinies right up to very elderly. I was just going to talk today about three time because in elementary settings really, and perhaps more this time linked to an instrument rather than a musicianship class. So I'm not going to include singing songs and things. I find some young musicians or inexperienced musicians have trouble with three time. They end up going back to four time. And so I would do lots of preparatory exercises with them. And I'm really just going to list today things that I do. I'm afraid, there's a lot more things that I do than this, but it's just a snapshot. So the first thing I would get them all to do, a student to do, is to tap just the basic beat. They might be tapping on their knees, they might be clapping. I would be playing three time with them. I might be doing it with a drum with them. I might be doing it improvised on the piano. I might be using their piece. It depends slightly what the situation was. I would then ask them to move it pretty quickly into another part of the body. So it might suddenly be head and then it might be elbow, or they have to choose. So they've got to think and they've got to be reacting pretty quickly. I might initially be giving them verbal instructions, change, but then I might say, depending on who it was, well, if I move up higher into a higher pitch, that's when you've got to change. If I move back down again, you change again, just to keep their ears actively listening. The other thing I then would go on to is tapping the dotted crotchet, minim, and that's dotted half notes, isn't it? And sorry, I've been saying the English ones in American, because there's quite a lot of three time music, isn't there, where you have to feel that just the one in the bar. Again, I would do lots of tapping, but this time, and I probably can do it probably on the knee, I probably would feel the length of the notes. I would do things like alternating knees. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or ta, or ta, 2, 3, ta. I mean, whatever the student was used to doing. And then this is where I'd get to the fun because we get a bean bag or a ball. I have to admit, I prefer bean bags with a lot of them. I don't drop them so easily. And again, we do the same thing. I would say that if we were doing different parts of the body, I might use, shoulder, we could move, I'd say change and they'd have to move. Again, always keeping the active listening going on and just keeping their brain alive and well. I also encourage all my students, if we're tapping with one hand, tap again with the other, and particularly good for pianists to do that, so they're not always using their dominant hand. So then when we've got that established, I would then turn from crotchets and we would do a change activity from crotchets to dotted minims, so from quarter notes to dotted halves. So we'd start with this and then I would say changed, and I'd probably suggest that they went across the body, change. and we'd be accompanying them. Now, this is all done in a non-low-code situation, and particularly useful if you're in a small room teaching in a school, in one of those tiny little sort of rooms you have to teach in. Thank goodness I'm not in that environment any longer. And but obviously, you know, I like to get people moving around the room. So then we would just transfer it to our feet. So we'd walk around the room, and also getting the idea of the 3-time moving from the left to the right. And then, you know, and then we could go forwards, and I could do a signal to say going backwards and forwards again and backwards. And we could do the same thing with dotted half, you know, notes, dotted minims. And then we could also do changing again from the quarters to the dotted halves as we go round the room. This is all getting
1 minute,
into
Jane.
the body and feeling. And then what we would do is, if we then got much better, we would then I would do things like tapping at the crotchets, you know, the hands, and stepping in the feet, the same, the dotted minims and feet, so that you could get one and the other, and vice versa. And for much more advanced students, I've made them change that. The other thing that I would also say is I do use other props like scarves to show the distance of dotted minims. I also use ribbons and percussion instruments. You can you can put them onto chime bars. You can make music with all these rhythms. But there's one other very important thing that, and I'm not sure you'll be able to see it here. The other thing I find a lot of elementary students can't do, I hope you can see my feet, is they don't get the idea of the crucis, metacrucis and anacrucis. So we do a thing where I hope I can balance and just show you here. So I start here and we push or drop, push, glide, lift, 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 push, glide, lift. So I hope that gives you some ideas, so that we get the feeling of the 3-time much more musically. One other thing, you probably can't see this here. I know that with Dalcroze, it's all about the hearing and the movement first. I would agree with that 99% of the time, but did have a 70-year-old the other day, and the only way he could do it was tapping on the paper where he drew circles for the crotchets. Dotted minims were bigger circles. I don't know whether you can see this, you probably can't. But basically we were traveling 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and he got it. But he was a very, very visual man. He's in his 70s, never done music before, and needed that visual to help him with it, couldn't get it. Always also tapping on the table, he needed to travel the whole time. Stationary on the body did not work for him. But that's the 1% with it all. Anyway, that was a real snapshot of what I would do, you know, with early pupils, you know, and students for 3-time in the setting of piano, whatever. As I say, there's lots of other things we could do, but
Yes.
that's a snapshot.
Thank you so much, Jane. Yes, we know this is like the tiniest sliver of just getting a peek into your studio and your teaching. And we'll have more to talk about. Thank you. Marlise, we'll go on to you. Just make sure you unmute, please. Thank you.
I will just have a short talk, and then I have about 4 minutes music, and then my presentation is gone. So welcome everyone to meet my Dalcroze practice for everybody. I'm a cellist and Dalcroze teacher from the Netherlands, teaching in my private music school, and I completed Dalcroze certificate 5 years ago in London, the UK. During this course, I got diagnosed with an illness, and it's called small fiber neuropathy. It's a progressive and very painful disease of the nerves. My hands, my arms, my feet and legs are burning like electricity, always. I had to stop playing the cello and move in a wheelchair. I am now in a wheelchair. The wheelchair is my least problem because it diminishes my pain and provides my independency. I continued with teaching, even in a better way than before. More movement, more singing, more conducting, better analysis. And with my Dalcroze luggage, I could explore my new manual for my ever-changing body. And today, I would like to invite you to join me in my movements with the restrictions of my body. No hands, no feet, and also no head, because I have another illness with dizziness. So we will move to the music, which I have selected. Please find the pulse and the rhythm of it while sitting on your chair. No clapping hands, no fingers, no walking feet. Yes, you can use your arms or legs, but I would like you mainly to focus on the center of your body. And of course, there is a little bit of arm, of legs connected, but just this part. And therefore, let's have a look on my body map. And John will share my body map for me. Can everyone see it? So you see, this is me. You see my roots. I feel my ground in my sitting bones, my pelvis, and in my four wheels. And you can find them and feel them in your chair, in the legs of your chair. My tree, I feel my spine as a flexible connection between my whole center body to move, to be able to move in all directions. And the third is my globe. I do feel a lot of space, both in my upper and in my lower body. And I can move inside and outside these circles. So let's connect with the music, and I want you to rename the Dalcroze descriptions like walking, jogging, by your own words. How would you describe them? It can be any language or sound. After the music, you can write them down, and we can discuss them later in the meeting. So now we start the music, and while you move, well, you could view my body map or not. Let's move.
Marlies, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the music.
Yeah. But it's no, it's not good.
John, when you hit the share button, so you'll hit share in Zoom, and then on the right-hand side of the first window that pops up, there are two little check boxes that say share sound and optimize for video. So try making sure both of those are selected.
Yeah, I did do that, but I'll try again. Let me
And are you sharing video or only sound? Video and sound or just sound?
just sound.
Oh, just sound. Okay. Then in that case, apologies. You click share, and then at the top of the first window, it'll say advanced.
Yeah.
And you want to go to advanced and say share computer audio,
And not for video sharing.
not video. If there's no video, if it's only audio, hit share, advanced. There you go.
Let me try this again.
Yeah, that looks better. It looks like you're there.
maybe just a few seconds to write down your sensation in word or sound which connect to movements you have made with your center body, and we discuss them later. Everyone could find some words just to reflect on later on. Thank you. This was my presentation.
Thank you so much, Marlies. I didn't realize, I thought we were going to write them in the chat. So, but maybe some of you wrote notes also we can share later too. I'm going to go on and share Rosemary's lovely video. Did it work?
Looks the video is working. I don't hear any audio. Well, maybe I hear audio.
Hi, welcome to my oral presentation to the virtual Dalcroze meetup. I'm Rosmary Colmenares and I'm from Barquisimeto, Venezuela. Nowadays, I teach piano at Vicente Emilio Sojo Conservatory in my city. First of all, I would like to thank to the virtual Dalcroze meetup organization for this wonderful opportunity to learn through the short courses, workshop, and didactic researches. Also, to thank Veronica Valesky, Emma Shubin, and Stephen Neely. Now, I'm going to explain some exercise that I did in reading workshop using Dalcroze strategies to my piano student second level. Number 1. I started a relaxing exercise by using a slow background music called Married Life by Michael Giacchino. Also, we did a workout. Later, we did a breath exercise by the rhythm of music. Number 2. By using the Bejer's Method 44 exercise, I motivated the students to walk following the rhythm of piano. In this exercise, the students used colorful scarves to the movements with the arms. Number 3. Then, we did a couple exercise consisting on throwing a balloon one another by following the rhythm of the whole note, half note, quarter note, and eighth note. So, we developed the hearing sensitivity. Number 4. In the next exercise, I showed some musical charts to the students in order to solve by using the song Pico Pico, a Venezuelan traditional song by Flor Rofe. Number 5. The materials used in the workshop were tennis balls, scarves, and balloons, besides the piano. Finally, I want to express my wonderful experience as a teacher in this workshop, in which the students felt the music through the rhythm and movement. Also, I realized my students were aware of the pulse and the musical figures. Thank you very much for your attention.
Is my sound back? Okay, great.
Thank you so much to all three of you for giving us some nice little bits to be thinking about. The format of the meetup is really based around these short demonstrations. We have had a couple where we do slightly longer things, but the main format is rather than giving anybody the pressure of a long presentation, what we really are interested in is just getting a glimpse into your practice, the way you work, the way you're thinking about it, the kinds of ideas that are coming to you, and then the opportunity to just talk with you a little bit about it. So we got to see three really lovely and diverse sets of ideas, and now we've got just under a half an hour where we can maybe get to talking a little bit about it. So does anyone have any comments or things that struck them about any of the three? And we can ask questions, or we can say it made me think of this, or it's similar to something I do. Um, Anyone want to lead?
Well, maybe I can ask if people have written down something. I didn't look at the chat, so maybe people just can tell if there is anything to share, what the experience was, of my goal of this exercise to you. What did it bring out to you? And I'm interested also what kind of descriptions come out for the walking and jogging, because I can't walk and jog anymore. So what do we do then? What's our imagination? Because we need imagination, I think, to connect with music. So anyone like to share something?
I've got an AS. I felt I do so much work with arms and legs, so it was really interesting to not use them. I kept wanting to put my arms and legs out. I think it makes you really feel down to the core when you've got this part of the body. So you're really thinking much further down. I mean, although we can feel with the ends and tips of our fingers and our feet, but there was a sort of sense of much more depth within ourselves when you didn't have the exterior limbs. So that's what I felt.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Anyone else would like to comment?
Yeah, I felt something similar, that it was really different and interesting to feel different directions with just this core, which I'm not used to doing so many such big things. And when I went to write things down, I found I didn't have words. I had scribbles instead. So I had sit bones, and then I had a circle, and mid ribs was like 4 different arrows, and shoulders was a squiggle. So that was what came to me. So that was really interesting.
That's exactly how it feels with me, the same. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyone else?
For me, oh, sorry, Selma, you go first.
I was fascinated by the strengthening of my sensation of forward and backward and diagonal, because instead of just only thinking top and bottom of torso, I began realizing there is this huge range of places within the torso, or possibilities for movement and for timed movement. That, the sort of, when you watch older dancers, older folk dancers, say, they may not be doing really any steps or arm gestures anymore, but they're doing the center of the body, the subtle actions in the center of the body, or in within those sort of areas that we were concentrating on. And the other impression I had was that it was really hard for me to tell my head not to move.
Oh, yes,
Because
absolutely.
when you
is-
are moving the top and bottom a fair amount, your head is active, and I can sympathize with the limitation of feeling dizziness, because I often feel dizzy myself if I get up too fast or I have low blood pressure. So trying to decide to sort of quiet this action was a good challenge, actually, because normally I don't have to, right? But it would be very disconcerting as a limitation.
Thank you, Selma.
Thank you all. Marlise, it's such an interesting and really important set of attentions. It's important, and as I'm thinking about it, at least for two sets of reasons. One is just the difference between inner and outer attention, which is work that is significant for absolutely everybody. And so whether, somebody is able to leap over buildings or is not, taking some amount of time to think about what is on the outside of my body, what do I access through large gesture, and at what point does any of that translate into something more personal and meaningful in my sort of most intimate sort of inner space, I think is a forever set of ideas that are very present in most any Dalcroze setting. And then the sort of maybe the impetus for some of the work is just that we also then have students with differently abled bodies, and so different bodies can do things, do different things. And in some cases, maybe there's a wheelchair involved, and in other cases, they're just students whose knees don't bend very easily, or who can't actually get on a tiptoe, or don't move quickly and need to move more slowly for different reasons. And we could, of course, continue to build that list. And their innate musicianship not only needs to be acknowledged, but embraced and supported and built out as much as any other student. And so I appreciate you bringing the exercise and continuing to be a voice in our community. So there's more opportunity to keep asking Marlise questions, but just because we've got only 20 minutes, 19 minutes left, I'll offer to anybody a question from Marlise or anything about Josemary's or Jane's presentation that you were thinking about.
I'm just going to quickly jump in, and I'm going to throw some words at Marlise, but I wanted to ask Rosemarie a question as well. So I got words. First of all, it was really nice that I happened to be in a swivel chair. So I was imagining you and your wheelchair going around that Cardiff studio where I played for you in your wheelchair. So that was really nice. But I had hip hop, pop, funk for the kind of poppy things. I had ooze, cling, swirl, and then I had the word everywhere. There was one track that just made me feel everywhere, and it was everywhere, inside, outside. But I must confess to have broken the rule about the head. My head went everywhere, and it was really interesting to be in a duo. John ignored me for the first 3.5 minutes. Then he realized there was another body in the room, so there was a bit of duet. Anyway, my question, that landed great. Thanks very much, Marlise. Rosemarie, I wanted to ask you, do you work with the quality of movement of the children? Because I was so struck by their feet. The boys' feet were so grounded. I was just so drawn, and each clip that came on, I kept focusing on they were so grounded, and then their gesture was so beautiful. And I wondered, is that something you've worked on, or is that what Venezuelan kids are like? Because they're not what British kids are like.
Rosemarie, ¿entendiste o necesitas un poco de ayuda? Can you unmute? No podemos.
I need help.
Beth Ann está preguntando sobre la calidad de movimiento de tus estudiantes y si has trabajado con ellos en cómo se mueven o si es algo natural en tu país que los niños se mueven con tanta alta calidad de movimiento.
Sí, perfecto.
Bueno, realmente esta fue la primera vez, the first time, que aplicó actividades del cross para los estudiantes, porque normalmente ellos no se mueven. Ellos están normalmente tocando el piano y no tienen actividades de movimiento.
Wow.
Sin embargo, yo quise, y desde que conocí del cross, he querido incluirlo en mis clases. He querido incluirlo en mis clases, la parte del movimiento, pero es un movimiento natural, normal, que ellos se muevan bueno, con las pelotas o con los globos, balloons, que los muevan de esa manera. Incluso yo también quedé sorprendida por la calidad del movimiento. Sí.
So she
Claro.
shared that that was her first time using movement with her piano students, and that she is hoping to use it more and wants her students to experience this Dalcroze way of learning, and she's working on learning it herself. But she also was surprised by their beautiful quality of movement.
Thank you.
Other thoughts? Yes, Catherine.
Well, I'll wait if there's anybody else because I already talked, but I was just wondering if Jean could really quickly redo the thing you do with the feet and 3 because I have the most trouble with some of my kids just getting 3 at all. They play it in 4 no matter what.
You wanted to see the one where I go I push, glide, lift, that one, yeah?
Yes,
Yes,
and
of course. No, I agree totally. It's that sort of thing when in minuets, don't they? And they end up in 4 time. Now, let's just see. Oh, of course, I'm not on, and I was rushing it, wasn't I? Let's just see if we can do this. Okay? Can you see this? I hope my knee's not going to
Yes,
get
looks
up on
good.
this. Right, so we start on our tiptoes, okay? And then 1, 2, 3. So we're going to push, or even the word drop, some people like. Push, glide, lift. Push, glide, lift. Push, glide, lift. Push, glide, lift. So the heavy, the
Drop is
light,
better, isn't it?
the lift. The heavy, the light, the lift. Doom, da, da, dee, da, da, dee, da, da, dee, da, 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 dee. Like that. Does that help you?
yes, it helped just to have a couple more words like the drop. Thank you.
Yeah, just interestingly, the sometimes push doesn't work. Drop works better. It just depends who you have, and again, literally, you have to do with your student, don't you? Which words they react to.
And I just have to respond to that. I did the same in my wheelchair now without my feet. So it's about the weight and the drop and the what was your words? I don't remember.
Push, glide, and
Yeah.
then lift.
You just experience with your center body. You can do
Yes.
exactly the same with this part. And referring to your 70-year-old student, you said, well, he cannot walk. Well, he just can use his core for that because it's about weight in this case. Yeah.
The other thing I do, which I've actually just thought of now, again, it is something you couldn't do if you didn't have your hands, but I make a 3 dots in the triangle with down, like a conducting one, and then get them to start at the top, and then with the pencil, push, draw it, push, glide, lift, push, glide, but they're doing it on the paper, on the floor, or on the table, well, usually on the floor, and they join the dots with the sense of the down, the cross, and the up. The down, the cross, and the up. That usually helps as well.
That's lovely. I'll just for our anybody who's kind of new to these conversations and maybe somebody who's going to watch the video after, we'll just point out that while Jane has a really ideal little choreography there and absolutely useful, there never needs to be only one. And so there's a very sort of common or standard little protocol at a place like this where maybe the teacher would offer something up, say, oh, let's try this together. I'll demonstrate it for you. We'll all do it together. And then that could be plenty, which is great. It's only lovely. There's of course nothing wrong in any way. But if you wanted to extend the lesson a little bit further, we could then say, who has another way? And so we would say, oh, does somebody else have a different thing that would show Marlise's, very astute understanding that it's just about weight. So notice how our weight shifts. Notice maybe if we want to get a little heady with the kids, notice how that first motion that Jane demonstrated, that push, is kind of the heavy of the three. And obviously that upbeat, the third one, that's the lightest. I'm on my tiptoes. So can anybody else help me? Can you all like experiment for a minute? And then who's got one that would show me another heavy, less heavy, light, heavy, less heavy, light? And now all of a sudden we have an opportunity for improvisation. We have an opportunity for some student to know the answer where the teacher doesn't know the answer. They get to invent. And then the sort of classic version of that would be who's got an idea? Let's all do the idea. And now maybe I'll accompany or we'll sing to or we'll find some way to embrace the idea. And then in certain classes, they could go all the way around the room. Everybody gets a chance to try and show me your new one. Now show me another, show me another. Sometimes there's no reason to find a variation, and the very first choreography is more than enough for today's lesson. On another day, we maybe have enough time for two people to come up with a new idea. Oh, how lovely. Let's look at Jimmy's and let's look at Sally's. And then on another day, we planned out that we have time for 10 different people to show us everything that they've come up with. And each time that someone else uses up an answer, the next student has to be a little bit more creative, has to push out, maybe a little weirder or a little wackier or a little sillier. And there's all sorts of, great ideas that could bubble out of who's got an idea. So I hope, Jane, you don't hear me say that in any way that is a criticism of yours.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's absolutely classic and perfect. But as we just sort of continue to think under a Dalcroze heading, that opportunity for student-led, student creative, and improvisatory, and then the adult or the leader finding some way to support it. I'll give voice to the 6-year-old's idea by going to the piano and accompanying it. All of a sudden supports that 6-year-old's risk of offering up something new in the room, as instead of feeling like maybe someone would giggle at them in a way. So just one set of ideas. We still have just a couple minutes. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say something briefly, if I may, about activity that we did with Marlise. And for me, I was just really surprised about how many possibilities there were. Just thinking about this part of my body, because actually, when I say just this part, I'm talking about dozens of parts. If I think about all my vertebrae, all my ribs, front and back, my sternum, my clavicle, everything else, there's loads here to be going on with, never mind the pelvis. So that was one thing. And the second thing was, I felt that imagining the movement coming from the center of me clarified the intention of the movement. Actually, that makes sense. So I felt that I had a very clear idea about where I was going because I was always clear about where I was coming from. And when I say center, I don't mean just one bit of me, like one point. The center could move, but there was a starting point, a point of departure that was in here, and that really helped, I think, to clarify the direction of the movement. So it was a learning for me. Thank you.
Thanks, John, for sharing. Yeah, Emma.
Can I piggyback off of that, John? For me, there's something that's so necessary about finding new ways to engage the spine and the ribs because of the use of breath in flute playing. And I've been engaging with a research project where I'm trying to develop movement-based practices for flute learning. And it was almost like there's uncharted territory in my brain. Like I've left the flute playing stuff in one half of myself and the movement part of my Dalcroze self in another part. And there's this kind of weird world where I'm trying to find the ways of the connections between the two. And what I found so lovely there, Marlise, is like for me to realize that there's so many options. Sometimes I get distracted by what my limbs are doing or not doing. And I forget that I originate my movement from the center. And kind of to piggyback on that, Yosmati, I was noticing, along with being also astounded by the beautiful like groundedness of your students, was like this gorgeous work with their kind of like they like the way they were holding their balloons when they were working was so intentional. And I only maybe am saying that because we kind of come from this intention of having experienced this movement with Marlies, and then to watch kiddos really like be there with an object that is so easily floating away and can be wily and kind of everywhere. And I'm reflecting a little bit on my own recent work where I was trying to incorporate balloons into some of my instrumental teaching with movement, of how like beautifully that object can really do so many beautiful things and help us envision and imagine. And so Marlies, I was kind of making this connection between, you know, these props that we use to help us experience and embody a movement, and that we need the imagination, and we also like need an invitation sometimes. And sometimes we can see that in the model of our teacher, but then sometimes it comes from this prop that we're using, or sometimes it comes from the idea of trying something new. It was really, what a lovely session, everyone. I'm really enjoying being here tonight. Thank you.
We still have about 5 minutes. John's comment about noticing that the gesture is coming from his center or from the middle just sort of opened up a space for me when we think about expressive gesture and what I put under the heading of movement vocabulary or basic technique for the moving body. So again, for any of our any newcomers or people who aren't so steeped in all of these ideas, the sort of almost statement number one in my world for a first adult eurythmics class claims that the body is the first instrument. It's sort of a statement that is just kind of repeated. It's a small mantra that seems to be, repeated around. The body is the first instrument. And then we spend, sometimes years trying to get to the root of that. Like, what do we actually mean? What are we supposed to mean by that? And we say, well, you don't really have much reason to have a violin unless there's music in your first instrument, the body, and then the reason for a violin or whatever your major instrument is to just share the music that you already know inside you. And so it's quite easy in any music teaching or pedagogy practice, it's quite easy to learn to play an instrument and never pay attention to the inner music, to the sense of inner motion that your music has the potential to create. And so a lot of our practices are trying to get the student to focus back on the first instrument. We don't classically bring our guitar to every class or our flute to every class, every sort of music and movement class. Instead, we bring our first instrument, the body, and then we play that instrument. And little by little, even though we don't often use this wording, we're building a technique. It's not at all as strict as a ballet technique or some other kind of dancer's technique, and yet this awareness of the body and a focus on it matters is the beginning of an expressive technique. And so John's statement about, well, it starts here, wherever here is, it starts at some center, that to me is kind of a highly valuable and slightly technical kind of read. And I don't mean technical in a stuffy way, I just mean like it's specific. And so, and can be really the beginning of a much richer series of ways of being in my body, when I realize, oh, it's not just my fingertips that lead this particular motion, or I'm not just leading from my nose as I wiggle my head around, but the incentive to move my nose, if I can figure out where it comes from, will come from something deeper, and then that's an outpouring. Marlies, did I see you had a comment?
Yes, I just want to respond to you. That's so true that my forced restriction, gave me so much new benefit, and I hope to pass it on from the disabled to the abled one to talk and what's disabled and what's abled. Well, we can have another discussion on that, but I mean, it's coming from the inside. And when I did my certificate, I was also doing clapping and walking and jogging, and I liked it a lot. But now I'm forced to do it else in another way. It's much better. I really sense the essence of the movement because it's from here. And yes, my muscles say also, what are you doing? But I hope everyone is benefiting from this idea that well, it's about restriction, I think. So it's just a simple thing you can do in any lesson. Just restrict some normally catch the ball, throw the ball, whatever. No, one hand here or one hand there, or and then it makes you aware. Oh my God, what now? What now? So we can do that all, and I hope to transfer the benefits of my handicap. Yes.
Yes. Well, friends, we are at the end. As is the case for pretty much all of the meetups, we often end with more questions and more things to think and more ways that we wish we could engage than we have made time for. But that's really by design. I hope that if you had a chance to just stick with us for an hour, that there were a couple new ideas that popped to you, maybe a new turn of phrase that will be significant in your practice. And I hope that you'll come back and that you'll offer to share for 5 minutes and tell us some things that are going on in your world. I hope that you'll find a way to connect with colleagues around the world through these meetings, masterclasses, and short courses. And we'll hope to see everybody back really soon. Thank you to Marlise, to Jane, to Josemary. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time. And thanks to everybody else who participated. Subscribe to the mailing list and subscribe to the calendar, and we'll see you back at the virtual Dalcroze meetup. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.